Welcome to the Wildcats Coaches Show. I'm Adam Howe, your host, alongside head coach Ryan Boyer. Coach Boyer, thanks again.
You bet.
All right, we are entering, this is, I guess, week 10 for
10.
us. First round of districts. You said happy Halloween.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff going on this weekend. But first things first, and we've got a big ball game tonight. First round of districts, like we said, against the Knob Nuster Panthers.
Yep, it's something, like I said, we're to that point of the year, tell the kids, this is what you wait for. And really you start a whole new season. We break the regular season into thirds, and now it's win or go home, and everybody's 0-0. So
Wildcats, of course, will get to that Knob Noster game. We want to recap the game that we played last week. That was at home against the Buffalo Bison, a 19-14 win. Wildcats moved to 8-1. They tumbled Buffalo down to 5-4, but a really hard-fought, ground-out win at 19-14.
Yeah, it was one we knew coming in. Buffalo, a very physical team, and like we talked about last week, a little bit different style of play than you see. I mean, they do a great job of just outnumbering you or outflanking you with blockers, and really just controlling the clock. And then, like I said, hoping that you make mistakes or they break a big run. And can't talk about our defense enough on their effort. And I mean, obviously we did well on both sides of the ball, but defensively, our kids really stepped up and did a lot of good things.
And you talk about grinding it out and the way the Buffalo's style of play is, and that kind of plays into how the game started. Yeah. And that first quarter went scoreless for both teams. And Warsaw actually received the opening kickoff. They drove the ball all the way down to the 8-yard line, and then Buffalo came up with a big stop.
Yep.
So first quarter goes scoreless, but then the Wildcats finally, and this recap, I guess, will probably be a little bit quicker than we normally are used to, but not a whole lot of scoring. But the Wildcats did manage to get on the board at 6:42 in the second, and that was on a 8-yard touchdown pass from Brady Slavens to Grant Chapman, somebody that we've always known we've got him. You got him on the outside. Others maybe haven't seen him, but Grant was standing wide open in the back corner of the end zone, and easy play. Yeah,
Brady did a good job of reading the coverage there, and that was one thing that we saw. What they were giving us when they were on defense there was some of these plays that we don't always get each week, and Grant did a good job on his route and spacing, and like I said, I mean we can always count on Grant. Grant had a big night Friday night.
He did a really good game by Grant, and but Howe came on. He nailed the point after. That makes it 7-0, and that was it for the first half.
Yeah,
7-0.
It was quick, very, very quick.
And we were talking before we came on that I believe I looked at the clock, and I think it was 7:38.
Right.
And a 7 o'clock kickoff at 7:38. It was halftime.
No, I know. We got into halftime, and I told it to my staff. I said, "Man, that seemed really fast," and like I said, just got it going. It seemed like.
Yeah, but then we've seen coaching staffs make adjustments at half, and you and your staff have done a really good job of that all season long. But Buffalo received the opening second half kickoff, and then Wildcats held them, but they came up with a booming punt that pinned us back deep at I think it was our 1-yard line, or maybe actually inside our 1-yard line. But Brady does a good job of putting the ball on the ground, using his legs, getting us some space there, and that's all you can ask for. I think they brought it out to the 27-ish, and tell us the play that happened next.
Yeah, we did a good job there, just executing. We always say when your back's to the wall, especially when you're snapping into your own end zone, you just focus on the positive yards and then get yourself in position. And like I mentioned before, did a great job. Brady did a great job reading coverages. Coach Morrison calling plays to that coverage. And just taking what they gave us, he was able to hook up with Cameron Sievers there for our longest TD completion of the year.
And that was 73 yards.
Yeah, and again, when our kids do this, it's to no surprise to us. We see it all the time from them, but it's great for them to be able to execute it on Friday nights.
Yeah, and that 73-yard pass, a lot had to do with Cam and his elusiveness. When he's got the ball in his hands, because it was just actually a short crosser route, and Cam did the rest with his legs and dodging defenders, tacklers, and just finding space, and he took 73 yards. So
nice
that was a fun play.
Yeah.
But then Buffalo comes back later in the third. They score on a 20-yard touchdown pass with 1:44 left. They converted a 2-point conversion. It makes it 13-8 and tightens things up there a little bit.
It does. And we told our kids, kind of just tipped our hat to Buffalo. They made a great call for the defense that we had called there. But to that, the nice thing that our kids knew and that we keep stressing to them is we've been in games like this. We've been in the close ones, so just relax and stick to the game plan.
And luckily, we had been in a couple close ones here recently.
Yes.
So that kind of maybe helped build them up for that. Well, then 13-8 at the end of the third quarter, things are tight, but then Wildcats come out with 6:06 left in the fourth, and we have said it all year where with Brady, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and that's when Brady slipped through, that front line, broke the second level for a 54-yard touchdown run that was made it 19-8 with 6 minutes left, and you had to be feeling good about there.
Yeah, we did. Obviously gives you a little bit of a cushion there, and to that with a style of play that they have there, it forces them to get into some formations and some sets where we know they're going to have to pass the ball.
Right, and they did that late in the fourth, and then Grant Chapman came up with an interception there around the 3.5-minute mark.
Yep.
Of course, I think we punted the ball away there. Maybe I think Tayton's only punted the night. They scored late again, but too little, too late. There was 1:30 left on the clock for a 19-14 final. So kind of recapping this one, not quite the offense that you maybe have expected, but you knew going into this one that it's going to be a tough one. I mean, Buffalo has been that kind of had our number over the last few years.
And that's what I told kids. Hey, each year you've gotten a little closer to beating them, and this time we were on the flip side of it. And I know, like I said, we were up there late, and way the district's points and things like that, we're trying to get to that 13 mark for your margin of win. Get ourselves in field goal range and possibly touchdown. And so we threw that interception late, and but again, our defense, they executed how they needed to.
They kind of had the bend but don't break mentality.
Without a doubt, and our special team stepped up, recovered the onside kick, and called it good.
Right. So recapping some totals from Week 9. Of course, a little bit. Obviously we talked about lesser offense.
Yeah.
But doing what you had to do to win a game. But 25 rushes, we're used to seeing 40 and 50.
Yeah.
But 25 rushes for the Wildcats, 187 yards. That's still an average of 7.5 yards a rush, and any coach any day will take that.
Without a doubt, yeah.
One touchdown on the ground. That was Brady on his 54-yarder. Team passing, actually more efficient than we've seen. 6 for 7. That was all Brady for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns, one each to Chapman and Sievers. So a team total of 302 yards, again below our average. But Brady slavens himself, 16 rushes for 134 yards and a touchdown. Of course, the 6 for 7 passing for 115 and 2 touchdowns through the air. Gage Whitaker, we talk about these guys on the air a lot, hard-earned yards, and they make the play when they need to. And Gage had 6 for 33 and then caught a ball for 9 yards. Cam Sievers had 1 carry for 18, but then caught 3 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. So, again, Cam Sievers doing Cam Sievers things. So, 1 touchdown. And Grant Chapman, of course, coming up big with 1 catch for the touchdown there in the first half. So, as a team, Warsaw has 320 points for the year, an average of 35.6, almost 36 points a game, and 339 yards. They're actually nearing 3,000 yards rushing for the year, so that's pretty neat. 28.01 and an average of 311 yards on the ground, and almost to 1,000 yards passing through the air. So, high school football, a lot of times you don't see a whole lot of passing yards, but if you can have, Brady. Especially if he is going to, already obviously a 1,000-yard rusher, but to have a 1,000-yard passer too, a pretty nice asset to have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Defensively, Brady led the team with 10 tackles. Jace DePriest, the freshman that we've talked a lot about, had 9, and he came up with the sack of the Buffalo quarterback. Nick Bagley had 7.5, and Gage Whitaker had 6. Those guys both linebackers. Tayton Boyer, linebacker, also with 5.5. Grant Chapman, Cam Taylor both had 4. Grant had an interception. Cam Sievers, we forgot to talk about this in the recap, but had a really big interception there at the end of the first half. It just ran out of time on the clock.
Yep.
And then Cam actually had a fumble recovery, too, that fumble forced by Garrett McGann. So that defense of the Wildcats only still giving up 15 points a game, and then 7 sacks on the year now, and they've got 8 fumble recoveries, 9 interceptions. They stand at plus 12. So the nice thing about that defense, and we've seen that turnover ratio keep going up. It's not ever came down all year long. So a really nice tidbit of information there, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, the Wildcats, they get a 19-14 win in Week 9 over the Buffalo Bison. They're set for their first round of district play tonight when they host the Knob Noster Panthers. We'll be back to talk about that one after this break. All right, welcome back to the Coaches Show. We're looking forward to Week 10, first round of district play here when the Wildcats host the Knob Noster Panthers tonight out at Randy Morrow Field. Wildcats come into that one 8-1, Knob Noster at 2-7, but that thing's set for a 7 p.m. kickoff. And Coach, like we said, those records are out the window.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is a Knob Noster team that obviously we've seen them on film and getting ready for them. They do a good job of athletes in space. I know they have a new coach in there, and so they're obviously getting better each week. And we were able to see them early in the year when they played for Sales, and then seeing them of late, you can tell they've improved a lot. They probably Richmond right there. I know eventually that score kind of got inflated a little bit, but that's some of the best ball they played against a really good team, and so it's definitely not a team that you can just overlooked by any means.
Right. So they come in, I guess we're the 3, so that would make them the 6.
Yeah.
So they're the 6th seed. We say that those records don't matter. We can kind of run down Knob Noster season here real quick, though. They started off 0-3 with losses to Versailles, Blair Oaks, and Adrian. Blair Oaks and Adrian both pretty good, gosh darn good teams.
Yeah.
And then actually got a win against Agape High School. Not sure where Agape is. And then beat Carrollton 44-6, and then now losers of 4 straight to Lexington, to district opponent Lafayette County, and then Richmond and Holden losses also. But like we said, that 2-7 record doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we're going to move on. Look here forward to tonight's game, first round of districts. What to expect from the Warsaw offense versus that Knob Noster defense. I like to tell you what I saw, then you tell us what you see.
Gotcha.
So I see a 3-man front. I see a few big guys up front, but what I also see is some athletes at that second level, and I see guys that like to create turnovers.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. They can give you a 3-man, sometimes 4-man, and bringing pressure, and they're able to do that. Kind of similar to how Skyline was, where they have guys on the back end that can cover you pretty well, match you up pretty well, and so bring some pressure, kind of force the issue there. And with that, where if you're not unable to pick it up or unable to pick up the blitz, and it can definitely cause you to turn it over, throw some interceptions, do some things there where we just stretch to our guys. Definitely keep your eyes up open, but keep your head up, communicate, and to that. They have nothing to lose, and so they're looking for a spark, especially on the road.
Yeah, and the one good thing that I've seen is that we do a lot better job even of communicating in that second half even, and we come out with a lot of emotion, and that I would hope brings a little bit of extra to a district contest tonight.
For sure.
But then looking forward to our defense versus Knob Noster's offense. I saw some players in orange and black. So I saw the quarterback, Payne, I believe his name, Trey Payne, number 15. He's got good size. He likes to pull it, but he can throw.
Yeah.
So I saw them, unleash a few. Some offensive weapons that I've seen. Livingston, I think he's a freshman running back, number 24, really good downhill runner. Can break the big one, and then catches a lot of passes. Williams out of the backfield, he's a running back, also kind of does the same type of stuff that Livingston does. And then they've got some outside threats they'd like to use, to get the ball downfield, and that's Funderburg at number 13, Goldsby's number 1, Crawford's number 1. I must have wrote that down wrong.
That's all right.
One of them's number, I don't whatever. But anyway, they're outside guys to stretch the field, but they've also got kind of a multi-dimensional player in number 23. His name's McCool. We see him line up in the backfield. He'll run it. He'll run some jets, but also he'll look to get downfield.
Yeah, and like I said, and those guys fit well in their system because everybody always says we're trying to get athletes in space, but I mean that's truly what they're trying to do there. And again, they've made big plays, and you can see on film sometimes they're just barely missing these guys, barely missing these throws, but these guys are wide open. And so to that, to our secondary, to everybody, it's just being disciplined, doing what we've done for the last few weeks, keeping everything in front of us, and just not overlooking one player taking a play off.
Yeah, and in these kind of games too, a number 6 seed, a lot of people are going to try to look past them. They're already putting us in that second round, but we can't.
No.
And our secondary is one that maybe hasn't been tested as much as other teams, and these guys will look to take advantage of that.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, in their strength of schedule, they've seen quality opponents, and again, it doesn't necessarily show up on the scoreboard, but they've had a lot of successes. It just maybe putting it all together for points doesn't always happen for them.
Right. So looking back here, then Wildcats, we always break these up into thirds. So Wildcats went 3-0 in that first third, 3-0 in the second, and then finished 2-1. That lone loss being against the Butler Bears, who are state ranked this week, I think, at number 5.
Yeah.
So anyway, finished 8-1. Enter the first game of districts tonight. Like we said and have talked about, against the Knob-Noster Panthers. Do you prepare any differently for a game like this when essentially you're down to win or go home?
No, I think we're all kind of creatures of habits, and right now where we're at, we feel like we've been successful in our preparation, but to that, stressing to our kids that don't get wrapped up on these rankings, and let our preparation be what it is. And weather's been a little bit different this week, but I feel like our kids have still had a great week of practice and paying attention to everything that we need to focus in on, and cleaning some things up, and just trying to stay healthy. That's the other thing this time of year. I mean, throughout your season, but especially this time, is if you can just keep the guys healthy.
Right. So looking forward here into the other district matchups, I guess the Wildcats face Knob-Noster. That's a 3 versus 6. The other opponents in that side of the bracket, that's Lafayette County, takes on Lone Jack tonight. That's a 2-7 matchup. Warsaw or Knob will play the winner of that one. Yep. And then Butler's the 1 seed. They get a bye this round. They're waiting for the winner of Holden and Versailles. That's a 4-5 matchup. So those are definitely scores of interest. We're going to keep an eye on Friday night, hopefully be able to announce that to the crowd at the same time and kind of let everybody know where we're at. So anyway, looking ahead, talking about practices and keeping people healthy, how have things gone this week?
It's gone well. Once the rain really set in on Wednesday, we had to adjust some things, but again, we told the kids, we were able to do most of it outside, go indoors for a little bit, and they did good there. Again, it's just a change of pace, but to that, mental reps are just as important. You want to get the physical, but again, I remember Coach Morrow always telling us this time of year, as far as the physical goes, the hay's in the barn, and you are who you are, and it's not to say you still don't condition a little bit, but if you're not in shape by now, you're probably not going to be. And if you're not a physical
but
team,
a lot of the preparation now is down to mental and film work and film study and stuff like that. Because if you don't have a certain play down yet or whatever, then you're probably not going to get to run that play.
That's very true. Very true.
So you're down to the mental and using the film, and a lot of film probably broke down, I'm guessing, every week. And I think these guys get film every weekend. And they break things down on their own. And I've heard of groups of them getting together to watch film and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's neat. And, I always tell them where kind of the difference is when we're in practices, and guys might mention things to us that maybe we didn't catch. They saw it a little different. And those are the great conversations that we can have. And, and obviously we can monitor it. But yeah, they get together on their own time. They walk around, like I said, with notebooks, taking notes. And especially this time of year, because it's not a lot of these guys aren't familiar opponents. They're not conference guys that you see every single year.
And probably haven't even kept an eye on them.
No, yeah, and you got to focus each week on who you have that week. So it's, hey, you got to turn the page, and now here's a whole new opponent.
Right, and you said you can monitor them. I believe you can. That means you can see who's logged in, who is watching film, and who's not.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So sometimes you give a few of them a nudge. Yeah.
So 8-1 is the best record for any of your teams since you got here in 17. Obviously, it's the best record that I can find for Warsaw football, going all the way back to 2010 on the Misha website, and I think you confirmed that before we went on today. Is this where you expected things to be 5 years in?
You always hope for it, Obviously, the sooner the better. But trusting your process and just how it all goes. We felt like we're at this pace, and again, I saw some of those guys from first year, throughout the season, and I always like to remind them, hey, you guys are the ones that helped lay the foundation for this, and that was something that we talked to them about 5 years ago. Was, hey, buy in, do it right. You're going to help us turn this thing around, and
now here they are.
Yeah, and here they are. And last year, COVID being just a weird year, what it was, it's hard to get in a rhythm there. But yeah, each year these guys have done it through our youth league. And that's a neat thing too. Is now we're seeing these kids that we used to work with them in the youth league after our practices, and now they're here and they're contributing, and it's neat, and it's one that so many people have contributed, and we could spend a whole show trying to thank all those people and still probably leave some out. And so, no, it's a very neat deal. These kids have worked so hard for it. This community has worked so hard for it, and our youth program has worked so hard for it. So, yeah, I mean, you never know for sure. That's where you hope you be, and you hope you can sustain it.
Right. And you mentioned the youth program. This kind of leads us into those guys. Obviously, these young guys all want to be Wildcats. They want, and they, not that they aren't.
Right.
But they want to be Wildcats on Friday nights.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yes.
And they had superb weekends.
They did.
This past weekend.
Yep.
The first, and we like to recap and talk about these youth guys, but the magnitude of what happened for them over the weekend was really neat.
Yeah.
That first and second grade group, coached by Billy Dulesky, and I know he's got a lot of guys. I'll mess up here. Justin Kellner and Mike Ferguson and Bradley Wright and Stan Adler, all kinds of guys helping there. But anyway, that first grade group, they split them up. They have first graders and they have second graders, I think. So that first grade group, they'd won their first game here a couple weeks ago. And then now their tournament started Saturday.
Right.
And it's pouring rain. It's cold. And now you've got to coach first graders in flag football.
Yep.
But anyway, those guys actually went out and won their first round game.
Yep.
The little first graders did.
Yep.
But then they got to face the second grade Warsaw team.
Yeah. Familiar faces.
Familiar opponents, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, but they didn't beat the second graders. But still, they finished the year with 2 wins. They got a tournament win.
Yep.
So that's building for the next year.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if you're in 7th grade playing for your 8th grade year or 1st grade playing for your 2nd grade year. These guys are all winning and carrying momentum into that next season. That second grade group, after they beat the first graders, they went on and won their championship. They play in the Sedalia Youth Football League. They actually won their championship 18-8.
Yeah.
So they brought home the first championship of the weekend.
Right.
So congratulations to that first and second grade group. The 3rd and 4th graders, they had a play-in game, a semifinal game, if you will, over at Osceola on Saturday. Wet, muddy, miserable day, but they still had to play. They took a win over there. I can't remember who they played. Lincoln, I think, in the semifinal.
Right, yeah.
Then that moved them into the championship on Sunday. Now, games on Sunday got moved to Warsaw because of the field conditions at Osceola. But the 3rd and 4th grade Wildcats, they took down the Skyline Tigers, and that was a 20-0 win. They finished 7-1, and they are the Lake Area Youth Football League champions.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was cool. Then following their game, we're dodging storms, a great big old squall moving through, and we had to move everybody in the gym. But then the 5th and 6th grade went out, and they played Skyline too. Now they advanced there because they took a forfeit over Lincoln on Saturday, so they were off. But they go out. They take on a Skyline team that hasn't lost a game in 4 years.
Yeah.
So they kind of had the Warsaw Wildcats number there for the last 4 years. And I can talk about this one because I'm on the sidelines for that one, right?
Right.
But we have spent plenty of time talking about it.
Yes.
But Warsaw goes out and they win 18-13 over Skyline. They give that group of Tigers their first loss in 4 years. They finish 6-1, and they also are the Lake Area Youth Football League champions. So we have 3 champions in youth football this year. We've got a first grade team that really made some progress. And then we've got a JBMS 8th grade team that went undefeated.
Yep.
7th grade team making strides. And then the JV played well.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about, where do you see this program? But that's a pretty good some pretty good momentum there for the future of the program.
You're exactly right. It's one I always tell people, we don't try to get too wrapped up on records and things like that, but you also get into the numbers don't lie comment also, where like you said, our first, second graders, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, your junior high goes undefeated, and then your JV has one loss, and you had kids that we had to move up off that JV, and not to make any excuses for them.
And some of the toughest things to do, one of the toughest thing to do, I think, is sometimes teach a group how to win.
Yeah.
And when the Wildcats were down there for a couple of years before you got here, they didn't know how to win.
Right.
And coming in to try to build this program, getting people back to learning to know how to win.
Right.
And don't find a way to lose, find a way to win.
Exactly.
And now you see teams doing that at every level, including your own, all the way down to that first and second grade group.
No, I hear you. That's one thing that we always stress is, play a game to win the game. Don't play it not to lose it.
Right.
And it does, and it just takes time, and that's why, like I said, I love to see the growth. I love to see the growth from the beginning of the year to the end on all of our levels. I know we've talked before the flag level, taking handoff,
right.
and then third, fourth, some of the guys putting on pads for the first time, and then in that group, each group, it seems like each year it's a great problem to have. We continue to have so many numbers. I know the one thing is like, hey, how are we gonna get all these kids in? And I know that's a challenge, and but again, it's a great challenge to have.
Oh, you bet. Yeah. So a lot of success going on there with the youth, and we want to make sure to congratulate those guys. I think they have this end of the season banquet coming up next week where they're all going to get recognized and honored a little bit. I think they're going to talk to you about maybe coming down and talk to them.
Yep.
They always want to hear from the big boss, a couple other speakers, I think, and then they'll get some awards next Thursday night. We hope that that's the next Thursday night before the Wildcats move on to their second round. First things first, it is week 10. Wildcats take on the Knobnoster Panthers at home, Randy Morrow Field tonight. If you can't be there, catch it on BCE TV. Matt Dove and Drew Burdick will have a call. Coach, thanks for joining us again. We'll look forward to visiting with you after another win next week.
Sounds good. And we're telling everybody, I know they have the Halloween on the square. You can still wear your costumes to the game. We just no mask, no props. That's all we ask. Props. But if you want to still
don't bring your plastic swords.
Yes, please. But we still, that's a great event. We want kids to have fun, enjoy it. But we ask, hey, if you can make it out, make it out.
So maybe a lot of creatures in the stands.
That's all good.
All right, great. All right, well, Wildcats and Knobnoster tonight at 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll see you there or on BCE TV. I'm Adam Howe. And for all the BCE TV team, I'm going to the house.